For years, our CBS 2 investigators have been telling you about children are most vulnerable in the child welfare system, just being left in psychiatric hospitals or put into shelters. Now accountability. In a stunning move, a juvenile court judge issued contempt of court orders against the director of DCFS, the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. We have the exclusive details.
We are responsible for the care and well-being of children who are being abused and neglected in the state of Illinois.
That was Marc Smith, the director of DCFS, the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, last March. Tonight, he's facing legal trouble.
And for me, there is nothing more important than making sure that our system is accountable for the work that we do.
But the CBS 2 investigators have learned Smith is now the one accused of a lack of accountability, slapped with 2 contempt of court orders by a judge who ruled Smith violated the rights of 2 children who were left languishing in facilities for months.
So there's some big news. This is unprecedented.
That's right.
Charles Goldberg is the Cook County Public Guardian.
Today, a judge in juvenile court in 2 cases, 2 unrelated cases, held the DCFS director, Marc Smith, in contempt of court for violating multiple court orders to place 2 children.
The court order describes how a 9-year-old girl suffered years of physical and sexual abuse at home. Then in DCFS care, she was put into a psychiatric hospital. She was ready to be discharged all the way back in June, but she's still there. A judge saying DCFS disobeyed numerous court orders to get the child out of the hospital. That's why DCFS's director is being held in contempt. The girl has been confined 221 days after the date she was supposed to be discharged.
Have you ever seen anything like this ever happen before in the history of the state of Illinois?
So I've seen judges threaten to hold DCFS in contempt of court many times, but I've never seen it. I cannot recall. I've been working in juvenile court for more than 30 years. I cannot recall a single case where a judge actually held the DCFS director in contempt of court.
The other contempt order was issued after a 13-year-old boy in DCFS care was forced to sleep in a storage room.
He was sleeping on the floor of a utility room in an office. And then
he was basically in a storage closet.
In a storage closet of an office. And then DCFS 5 months ago moved him to a shelter.
That child was sent to a downstate shelter and has been stuck there for 145 days. The reason for Smith's other contempt charge.
The truth is that our heart breaks every day in this system.
We interviewed Marc Smith last year after our CBS 2 investigators exposed how another child, a 10-year-old girl, had been trafficked out of the Grand Motel in Chicago. DCFS had received repeated complaints regarding her dating back several years, how at least 5 men had sexually assaulted her since the age of 7. But DCFS failed to put her in protective custody until her final rape case at the Grand Motel in October of 2020. Was that case mishandled?
Like I said, I can't speak to any.
I'm not asking you to name the girl. I'm not asking you to talk.
I appreciate that.
Smith wouldn't talk about how his department handled her case. We found once DCFS did finally step in, they kept the little girl locked in a psychiatric hospital 39 days longer than necessary. And it took 154 days for DCFS to get her into an appropriate placement. Was the case mishandled?
And my answer to that is I can't speak to any individual case.
It wasn't until after our stories that the girl was transferred.
Was it the media pressure that led to her finally being transitioned from that psychiatric hospital?
Absolutely, absolutely.
The 2 new contempt cases also call for sanctions, fines of $1,000 a day for every day the 9-year-old and 13-year-old are not properly placed somewhere. Goldberg says taxpayers pay at least $6 million a year to cover these inappropriate placements for children. In the 13-year-old's case, getting him placed where he's supposed to be would cost about $1,700 a month. Instead, the shelter he's been confined in costs more than 5 times that at $9,700 a month.
We always want to do what's best for the kids that we're serving.
But isn't there been an elimination of like 500 beds?
In recent years, there's been an elimination of a high number of beds, but we've also, in the last couple of years, really worked at not only increasing those numbers and rebuilding the supply of beds that we need.
The beds eliminated were in residential facilities and group homes. With all those places to live now gone, children end up languishing in psychiatric hospitals and shelters. It's a problem Smith inherited when he was chosen to lead the department in 2019.
They never replaced any of them.
What did those 500 beds that were eliminated, what did that do to the system?
It put the system in such a mess, and the system has been in shambles for the last 7 years since then.
DCFS is appealing the contempt charges. We will keep you updated on the fate of these children. A DCF spokesman says the department is aggressively working to address the decades-long challenge of a lack of community resource and facilities for children with complex needs.